So you know you done went viral on Instagram a couple times with Say Cheese and everything. Can you just talk a little bit about how did that come about and what made you want to keep doing these doing videos?
First, they had Sean Cotton at a pop-up shop in the summer in New Orleans and stuff, and everybody's at Sneaker Politics coming there. The rappers, producers, music executives like myself, everybody was, trying to get in there to try to be the next breakthrough, I guess, on his list or whatever, because Sean Cotton platform really big, his blog. So he was trying to find solutions to the problems of our music, saying like, man, y'all got Cash Money and No Limit came from this city and all that. So what's going on? Like, what's wrong with New Orleans? Like, why we can't find that new artist, whatever. So I was trying to say what I wanted to say, whatever, but there was too many people grabbing the mic, so I didn't get a chance to say nothing. So he had a post. He usually posts these controversial lists with like the hottest rappers from certain cities, the hardest cities that's to blow up in, and the best cities that got the best rappers. So Baton Rouge was #1 on his list with the top cities or whatever, where the hottest rappers coming out of right now. New Orleans was the #1 hardest. So I spoke about how I felt about it, and I was saying like I felt like we don't have a lot of originality. I remember Slim said, first thing be original, nigga, feel your mode, get your own style. So I seen that so many rappers trying to sign to Chicago, saying all they lingo and trying to do everything that they do, and I like Chicago. And then a lot of people was sounding like Meek Mills and stuff for Fab. All this stuff I was hearing, it wasn't sounding New Orleans, and I was feeling like that was hurting us. And somebody was like, well, man, there's a lot of hate in New Orleans, that's why nobody didn't make it. I'm saying, well, Big Boy was hot, Cash Money was hot in New Orleans, and New Orleans loved them, just like New York is competitive with all 5 boroughs, but you still get hot rappers out of New York. So I felt like it was the music that wasn't resonating with the South, was making New Orleans not being noticed like by the Atlantas or the Alabamas and the Arkansas like that. So I felt like that was hurting us, and Sean agreed with me, I guess, and he posted it, and it just, after that I kept just kind of going viral on things I was speaking about hip hop, and people just seemed to be listening, and it just kept snowballing.
Right. Because you yourself, as a music executive, so I wanted to speak a little bit about that with the Street Dreams music. Can you just speak a little bit about that, your record label and the status of where that's at right now?
Well, right now, like I said, I'm just like looking for talent right now, whatever and all that. But like I said, I'm doing my little thing, building my little brand too, doing this Instagram stuff or whatever too. But I'm just looking right now, whatever. But before that, I used to work with my cousin as an A&R with S8 with the song Meet Me Halfway, and I worked a little with Superbad, and I worked a little bit with BTY Young and on the management side. So that's what made me want to do my own little thing with my own little company trying to build right now. Right. But I got that name from Nas though. I like the Street Dreams name or whatever from the song, and I kind of put a spin on it.
Right. So earlier you just mentioned like you like the Chicago sound.
Right.
You mentioned New York, and you said just now with the Street Dreams,
right,
picking that. So it seemed like you're just a fan of music, period.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to the beginning? Like, where did that start for you? When did you realize like, yo, I just love music?
Well, my dad was in the same group. My dad from Uptown, he used to be in a group when he was young, and all that called the Mystics and stuff like that. So my dad always used to listen to music. So we used to watch a lot of Apollo, Soul Train, Video Soul with Donnie Simpson, and all that stuff like that. So I grew up and I listened to like a lot of the Miracle Man, Hasdale, all that stuff, all the soul music. So I heard music all the time, and then I grew up between the 7-1 East, and my big brother was my big brother like 7 years older than me, used to stay in the 7-1 Paris Avenue. He used to have a store called Gimmick Records. I used to always go in there with him, and he'll go buy tapes like Ghetto Boys, Tupac, Too Short, NWA and Ball and G, and I was always hearing the music, so I fell in love with hip hop from my big brother or whatever. But my dad and my big brother played a big part in me loving music and falling in love with hip hop. And then after high school, I had saved some money. I spent like $10,000 on the studio. I bought like Phantoms, MPC 2500s, all kind of studio stuff, so we could rap. Cause my brother that's doing Life in Angola or whatever. That's the reason why I try to get into music. I was trying to pull him out the street, so that's kind of how I got into it. And then I started working with my cousin, and that's that.
All right, that's an interesting story, man. So like you was doing like producing, or?
Well, no, I was never. I got the equipment because my cousins they know how to make beats and shit like that. Okay. So I got it for them, and then my brother was rapping, and I liked it what Boosie and Webbing was doing. So I put my brother and my partner together. We started just doing little stuff. I bought like a burner, and we was like going around in Mississippi and all that, and burning CDs and writing the names on them and all that with the Sharpie markers and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so I guess that's when you realized you wanted to be like a boss in the music industry, like like being an executive type, cause that's like marketing and promotion and right, just the business side of it all. That's
and I think the love of it came from knowing I had a mind for when I was in high school at Ableton. I used to be getting everybody recruited. My cousin was like a big time football player. He was out of Cali. He played football. His name was Charles Miller. And he used to be getting these football questionnaires when we stayed on Tyra Lane. And I was like, man, I'm gonna call these numbers on the questionnaire and I'm gonna ask the people in the football department, the ladies, to send me questionnaires. So I'd get like a bunch of them from Florida State, Miami, Ohio State, and I'd give it to all the players on the team. So the coaches would get mad at me, but I'm helping the players get recruited. And I'm calling JUCOs and shit, and I'm in like the 11th grade. So all the stuff like Jason them do the sports management, all these people doing that with the athletes like Penn, I was doing shit like that in high school and I didn't even know what I was like doing those sports agency. I just thought I was just helping out or whatever because they didn't know how to do it.
Oh man, that's dope, man. So you know, I watched a couple of your videos on Instagram and things like that, you know what I'm saying? And you, like I said, you talk a lot about just music, of course. It seemed to take a big pride in New Orleans and just New Orleans sound and being knowledgeable of it. Right. So like, can you just take us back for a moment, like how you felt during the era of, you know, saying like the Cash Money, No Limit, and all that? Like, what's one of your like memories of those days?
Great memories going. I mean, we was trying to, they used to have a place in the plaza too. We stood on Tyra Lane called Camelot Records. And we used to be trying to steal the CDs out there. It was that big. Like, you had a No Limit CD, Cash Money CDs. I was a real big, huge Cash Money fan and all that. Listening to Big Timers and Get It How You Live and all that. With my cousin at AWOL, we landed in bunk beds. We fighting over who gonna listen to the CD player and don't burn the batteries out and shit like that. So it was really big for me or whatever. And all that. Just growing up in New Orleans and seeing Master P. Right around, it was called a Music Factory, and then now it's called like Club Rain, strip club, but everybody used to go over there. Penn and was doing Ice Cream Man video in there with him and Silk by the pool table with the vest on. Yeah. They putting the posters up when they had the No Limit van right there. So we seeing this, you know, we seeing Bison them in the plaza and Mr. Goldman's, and we had Chick-fil-A in the plaza, and you know, Goldman's right there. You see the No Limit chain, see Bison. So seeing all that, you know, you fell in love with it. Seeing Feel Feel in the plaza with the all the Feel on, and running up to him and all that, like, you know, we hearing this shit. I want retaliation. So it was really big just being in New Orleans and hearing that shit big here and then going to the world. But we always knew that shit was special. And we got a chance to share with the world, and that's why I know, like, we come from a special place culturally. And that's why I be telling people, I give all the cities their flowers, but I feel like we come from a unique place or whatever, and if we could really tap into that or whatever, we could really see that the world love what we do. If we do us and not try to be like everybody else sometimes. There's nothing wrong being influenced, but don't just take everybody's style or whatever.
Right. So, like I said, we've been talking about the videos and things like that. When I first found your page, right, I think the video that stood out to me the most, it might be the first one I saw, you were speaking specifically on that New Orleans shouldn't alienate itself from the rest of Louisiana. Okay. And some people was like, man, fuck that. I'm from New Orleans. I ain't from Louisiana.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit on why you feel that way? Like, why is that so important to you to feel like, man, we all one state, we all one thing?
Because when I think about Atlanta, shout out Atlanta, whatever and all that, when I think about Atlanta, how they represent the metropolitan areas, just even think about that or whatever, and I look at like, all right, the Migos, they from Lawrenceville or whatever, and so that's North Atlanta or whatever, like 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta. And if it was like how we is, whatever, like, all right, say somebody from Kenner, or say somebody from Slidell or Sherman or whatever, we wouldn't really be like, oh man, they ain't from here or whatever, no, like, you from Marrero or whatever. But in Atlanta, you still be embraced by Atlanta or whatever, being from the north side, like they got shitted on from being from there, but they put it on the map and they're the biggest group in the South right now, and they out at North Atlanta or whatever and all that. So when I look at like, you know, the Shreveport, the Baton Rouge, I feel like why we distant so much or why we don't want to be connected to Louisiana when all us still country. I mean, in a way, you know, I know we talk different from them, but we still chicken fight. We eat raw noodles, nigga eat pig lips. You know, we do a lot of shit that people do in the South or whatever. I could go on, people eat post skin, motherfuckers play horseshoes and all that. So we do a lot of Southern cultural things, whatever. And I feel like it's like we like even not wearing a diamond teeth. Like I love how J. Arson wore the diamonds in his mouth and all that. Yeah. And it's a couple of rappers that do that. And I feel like when I looked at like the Gates and the Young Boys and the Kodaks and the Moneybagg Youth, all these Southern artists do that. Like that's something that everybody want to do and all that. And it's like we got so far away from what made people love us. We taking everybody else's identity. We losing our own self. And people like, well, damn, when I see you from New Orleans? And then when you say, oh man, I didn't know you from New Orleans, people get mad. Well, you sound like you from here or whatever. You don't sound like what I would expect, you know. So It just was like something like that or whatever. I just feel like Baton Rouge and Shreveport, they listen to the same music.
Right.
You know, when Cash Money was putting them CDs in the stores, they were putting them in the mom and pop stores in Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, Shreveport and all that. So you think these dudes not gonna be influenced by them? Magnolia showing them doing shows in Lafayette, Lake Charles, probably in Shreveport and Slim. So of course these artists gonna be influenced by us too. And why we wanna alienate ourselves from them and say, I can say we was from DC. Where you could be like, I'm from DC and that's it. I'm from the district. But we not from a place where it's just, we stand alone or whatever. We are part of Louisiana no matter how we look at it. We from NOLA, and that's New Orleans, Louisiana. So I feel like I'm from Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana.
All right, man. So do you feel like when you did that, right, when you made that video, and it's just plenty of the videos that you put out, right, do you really care if you ruffle any feathers?
I mean, I know I'm gonna ruffle feathers. I like to create dialogue, and I like to be provocative. I like to be disruptive because I feel like we need these conversations. This is the kind of shit we talk about in the barbershop. So sometimes people might try to shoot the messenger, but I'm making people think. I'm making us open our mind up or whatever and all that. And a lot of times people like to play it safe and all that, but nobody never did nothing big in the world playing it safe.
Nah, that's true. That's true. So look, staying on the subject of the South and things like that.
I love the South.
In the news recently, they got the issue going on with the prisons in Mississippi.
Man, Portsmouth.
You know
I got a cousin that's doing life in Portsmouth.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
One place where that movie Life was at with Eddie Martin, but it's real. It ain't no joke up there.
Right. I want you to speak a little bit on that about how you feel, you know, seeing people like Yo Gotti and Jay Prince and Jay-Z, everybody trying to get behind and just, you know, proving that out there in Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they being advocates for it and talking about it. I was even doing stuff like that in Louisiana with the 10-2 stuff, whatever, because Louisiana lock up more people in Louisiana than anywhere on the planet.
Right.
Whatever. We lead in mass incarceration. I have a brother, like I said, that's doing life. And God bless the dead, was even an advocate for that too, the 10-2 stuff. And that's something that's got a lot of people in jail or whatever too, whatever. You know, we locking people up at an alarming rate, and you need 10 jurors to convict somebody, but they just changed the law with the voters, whatever. But now it's up to the Supreme Court to make it retroactive, and that probably even help C. Murder because he had a split jury decision. So, you know, hopefully that'll help a lot of brothers out, and moving forward, it probably slow down all these people we locking up in the state of Louisiana. But I'm proud of what God has been doing to answer your question in Jay-Z. But like I said, we have one of the biggest problems in Louisiana. But like I said, Portsmouth and so many other places in the South and all that, you know, it's about money with prison systems in the South, you know.
Yeah, man, that's sad, man. I want to let's hop back to the music though to talk a little bit about what's your advice, you know, being a music executive and taking pride in New Orleans and of course wanting to see the New Orleans scene come up.
Yes.
What is your advice for a New Orleans artist now to break through like we seeing with the Baton Rouge movement?
First thing, I would definitely care about the market in my area, like you said, region or whatever. I would definitely try to figure out how could I resonate with the South, because the South is so big. When you think about the East Coast, for the most part, you might think of like New York, Philly, that come to mind, and Jersey and all that off the head. But when you think about the South, you got, you know, Tennessee, the Carolinas, the Chitlin Circuit, all the places in the South. I would try to please them because that's the place that made Boosie. That's the place that made Boosie. That's the place that made Gucci, you know, Cash Money, all those places. So try to resonate with the South. So I feel like if they can make music that can sonically, the beats they picking or whatever, if they can stay true to their slangs, mostly for the most part, and just try to really be all the way 504, you know, the styles and the flow. Like, just don't try to sound like nobody else. There's nothing wrong with being influenced because everybody's supposed to be influenced by something, but just taking somebody's whole lingo, I don't think you should do that or whatever. So just try to be so New Orleans, give them the best New Orleans, and try to make beats that kind of cater to where you from or whatever, especially the South. I feel like people love you for that.
Right. So with that being said, so right now, in your opinion, does New Orleans have a sound in 2020, and what is that sound?
I feel like we're in a reconstruction era of it or whatever. Like, we trying to put it back together, the pieces. We definitely know our sound has evolved because, like you said, we had documentaries like the new shit, the evolution of hip hop, how they talking about the bouncing, and that beat is a part of us. There's no way to get around it, and everything evolves. Just like people say, "Oh man, we need to get rid of the bounce sound." No, why? I mean, it evolved. Reggae still here, country music still here, gospel music still here, jazz, blues. I mean, I could go on and on. Those music things just evolve. So the music is a constant evolution, and we know that because other cities are embracing our sound, and they're winning with it. You know, so if we try to just modernize it more and just put our own spin on it in a different way or whatever, then it'd be really, really special or whatever and all that. But I feel like that's one of the main things or whatever, I feel like.
All right, so you're saying people are winning with the New Orleans sounds, like, you know, other artists and stuff using that bounce sound.
Right, and they even, and I like, you even have like a lot of female rappers that's doing good
Right.
with beating all of these, constantly growing and all that, but you gotta know where you from. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do. If you in Nashville and you might be, you know, trying to make country music or whatever and all that, people like that. If you in Jamaica, they like reggae. If you in Puerto Rico, they probably don't like reggaeton. So you gotta understand your market and where you at, and then you could grow and expand. But you gotta still know where you're starting at.
Right.
And if I'm in a restaurant business and people in New Orleans, all right, say I'm in Texas, and I know I got a lot of people in New Orleans that live around me, I'm probably gonna have somewhere that play bounce music, they gonna like that. I'm gonna have somewhere that sell crawfish and po' boys, they gonna come. I gotta understand where I'm at. And I think a lot of times people don't realize where they at and say, well, damn, let me try to cater to the people. I might like trying to rap like Jadakiss, but I'm spitting all day and rapping like I'm at a battle rap, but this ain't for that. People ain't trying to hear that.
Right.
You know, we on some call and response shit. We like Jubilee and Juvenile, and that's what made Juvenile special, though. He gave him our language, huh? He
Right.
said, yeah, on back that ass up. The way we talking, people fell in love with it. Then you get Black Rod making woke.
Right.
That shit was groundbreaking. That's the kind of shit people gotta do. Project Pat did it. He was country. But people love him for being country, and that made him special. And he was just trying to please Memphis, and then he wanted to please the whole world. Same thing Cash Money did. You worry about pleasing your locals, the world gonna love you for just making local music. That's just gonna go big. Atlanta, to me, make Atlanta music. And their music just influenced the world. That's all. They just doing them, and the world just having to, like, understanding that. Like Baby said, I'm gonna bring y'all to us. We ain't about to be in no 2-3 years. We got this, and he was right.
Right. For
He
real.
did his way.
So what I want to ask you, my question is, do you feel like artists from New Orleans, do they have the right, or should they feel played by other people taking the sound, quote unquote?
I don't feel like they should feel played. I never feel played. I always try to make sure I stress that, tell people that, because all posts inspire you. It wouldn't be no Michael Jackson if he didn't see James Brown and was inspired by him. So if somebody doing something that we do, that's just flattering to me. Like if somebody wear a pair of shoes because you doing it, or try to wear Cartiers because Pete did it or whatever, or Versace's like Biggie, then that's cool. That means you know you influential. Like that's gonna make Chris Brown want to be like Michael Jackson. So there's nothing wrong with that or whatever. That means we got some dope shit or whatever. That means this product that we moving on is block fire. So now we gotta just figure out how to make more people like it, or we gotta figure out how to say this our shit. You know, people love us because we got gumbo. Everything that make us special, people love it or whatever. That's why they still come back, because the tradition and the culture. And I feel like we getting away from a lot of that. But that's what we gotta preserve, and that's why people pull a little piece of us, whatever, and all that. And all the biggest rappers, from Cam to P and Coach K, they gonna say Cash Money and No Limit like inspired them to do it. So why we wouldn't be inspired by shit that come from us? So no, I don't feel bad when people take our shit. That's good. That means we got something special, and we need to do something with our shit or whatever, and make them love us again. It's just gonna be the second time around.
Right. So with that being said, and you saying like people are inspired by New Orleans and things like that, we all know New York is the birthplace of hip hop. People got a certain love and feel for LA. Do you feel like New Orleans is basically one of them cities where like it's undeniable that we should be like on the Rushmore, Mount Rushmore of hip hop. Just
right.
New Orleans is the city.
I mean, of course, definitely, because I mean, you got Cash Money getting a groundbreaking deal with the 8515. You got Master P doing what he did with the 8515, selling these records, running his company like that. Of course, because Russell Simmons had a production deal with CBS, whatever, and all that. Rockefeller, Bad Boy, Murder Inc., Death Row. You know, they had joint ventures. Cash Money No Limit had distribution deals. So we really laid the blueprint down, whatever, and all that. You know, and shout out to Luke and them, and shout out to Jay Prince and Charlie Draper, but Cash Money did it in a massive way, whatever, that was so big that you got to. And then look what Cash Money did so long, and look all the things that Pete did that never had been done. Playing basketball, doing the movies, paying for it out of his pocket. Like when Russell did Crush Groove, he still got to deal with that. Pete paid for this shit out of his pocket. So a lot of things that people didn't know they could do, country ass niggas with gold teeth that people thought was country and slow. That's why I can't stress that enough saying country, because that's what they were saying. Y'all making country songs.
Right.
Y'all can't talk, but y'all definitely whooping our ass on paper. Y'all definitely doing stuff we didn't think y'all was gonna be able to do. We didn't think y'all was smart enough to do it, because we thought y'all was country.
Right.
People think when you think country, you think slow.
Right.
You're not slow. That's just what people try to make you feel like. And if you feel like that, you buy into that, then you're gonna think it. But I feel like it's all the same thing. Country, slow is the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it's no different. It's not, don't look at it like it's a bad thing. You just down south hustling. So P and them and Baby would definitely be on that shit. Yeah, of course.
Right. So, earlier you mentioned the show on Netflix, The Evolution of Hip Hop, and we was talking about, they had an episode talking about how Bounce came up and things like that.
Right.
So they did have a part on there with Miss T saying that she felt like New Orleans was an ass-kissing city. Like if you pop somewhere else, then people show you love or whatever. How you feel about that particular remark?
I understand what she's saying. I feel like it is like a place where when somebody else really like go to see what you're doing, like I feel like August Alsina didn't really blow up down here or whatever. But when New Orleans seen August, everybody was like, loving them even more or whatever and all that stuff like that. So when New Orleans see you popping, just like P, I guess she was basically saying like how P was in Cali, but when P went to popping, he got to deal with the ice cream man, everybody from New Orleans jumped on him. Even though Cash Money built their bones right here in the city, and that's why we loved them even more, because it was homegrown. We seen that bounce sound evolve from UNLV to BG and the Hot Boys, but P blew up in Richmond and came back and all that, and then New Orleans just jumped on a wave. So I understand what she's saying. It is true to an extent that people do like that, and a lot of cities be like that. If they see you popping, then everybody won't pay attention to you more, whatever and all that. But I think it's more genius when you can see it early in people and all that. But like I said, he wasn't really out here. He was in Cali, so it wouldn't have been no way we could have really. But for the most part, New Orleans do have their picks and chooses, and like to me, New Orleans always really, really gravitated more towards the gangster shit. Right. This is how it always been, from the Miss T's to the Soldier Slims to the UNLVs to the Magnolia Short. They always liked that street shit. So New Orleans is a gangster city, It's the city that Carlo Marcello was in and some mob shit. Like we got strong gangster ties and it's a real city. So, if you could put out that street shit or whatever, New Orleans gonna fuck with it. But I think New Orleans love the underdogs. It's just the way you give it to them. Once you give it to them how they get it, then they'll fall in love with you, I feel like. My opinion.
Right, so
you just gotta understand them. You just gotta understand what they like.
Right, so I know that you, like you say, you have the record label going, and of course that's something that you want to make successful and grow. What do you see going as far as just how you speaking now on Instagram and things like that? Just being an outspoken voice in the city. Like, what's your plan? I guess long term for that. Like, you know where you're going with it, or you just kind of just flowing with it?
I mean, everything just be kind of on the fly. Like I never like planned none of this shit out or whatever and all that. It just always was like I was just speaking from my heart and all that stuff like that. So I love the South. I love Pimp C. I love the East Coast and the Western Midwest too, whatever. But I love the South. I'm just gonna keep speaking out or whatever and on how I feel. But my heart really is the music second. I really like to be behind the scenes and shit.
All right, so yeah, man. So we've been talking about the Instagram and things like that, and how people can stay in touch with you. Go ahead and let the people know exactly what is the Instagram page and, Twitter, and how to just stay in touch with you.
All right, on Twitter is GEEDY_P, G_P on Twitter, and my Instagram is GEEDY_P_speaks. So GEEDY_P_SPEAKS. GDP speaks.
Man, look, I appreciate you coming holler at me, man. I'm definitely gonna be staying in touch, staying tuned to what you be having going on, man, because I just really, really dig your Instagram page and just ain't the Twitter, you know what I'm saying? Right. You just constantly putting up knowledgeable information for anybody who love music, you know what I'm saying? You definitely talking like dope shit every day, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you coming holler at me, just sitting down tonight.
I appreciate that, and I want to let you know too, you got a lot of good questions that you asked me. A lot of people didn't know, like you went way deep all the way into my roots, like even to high school. So thanks. Yeah, you got a lot of good questions.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro.
And your crew, thank you, and your team, whatever. And my nigga Jealousy.
All right, Mile of a Life, and we out.